30,000 miles, and this car needs a new clutch already, which is totally not abnormal. Let's get started. This is a 2008 Aston Martin V8 Vantage. It only has 30,000 miles, like I just mentioned, and it's time for a new clutch. And as crazy as that sounds, any exotic car, whether it be a Lamborghini with E-gear, or an F1 transmission Ferrari, or an Aston Martin with what Clarkson calls flappy paddles, any of these cars with flappy paddles, the clutches just don't last that long. 30 to 40,000 miles is about the limit on any of the cars I just listed. They do sell aftermarket clutches that last longer, but that's just typically the name of the game when you get into these cars. And that's really strange. A lot of us say, well, I got a Ford Ranger, the clutch lasted 200,000 miles. Or that's not the case with automated manuals. There's a few other things that we're going to check on this car, and I am not able to fix this car. We'll talk about that here in a minute. But first, let's take a look at this thing. It's beautiful. This is the front of this beautiful V8 Vantage, and is very elegant. What would you say the color is, Mrs. Wizard?
Oh, this is a beautiful slate blue.
Slate blue, huh? I'm not sure what they actually call it, but it is indeed very pretty. Has some nice aluminum alloy wheels. It has a little bit of ductwork there for airflow. It is a coupe, a two-door, and you can see that it's a convertible. Everything works as it should. But here's my favorite part of this car. When you pull up behind this car, you know this is not a Honda Civic. It is something special. It is a very special car. It's really cool. I really like the tail lights. And how you open the trunk on these is this tiny little silver button. It's actually a metal button. There's the inside with some various things that the owner has. As we come around to the side, you can see that we haven't seen any scratches or dents. This thing's been very well taken care of, and it is stunning to look at. Let's go ahead and open up the hood. And here, where we normally see a V12 in the cars that have recently been in the shop, this is a 4.3 V8. It has 400 horsepower and a little over 300 pound-feet of torque. And really, this is the one that I would have. There's less spark plugs, less injectors. Then one thing that there is more of is room around the engine so that you can work on it. You can definitely see a large area up here. This is where our radiator, condenser, and everything is underneath this panel. And you'll see as we get it up in the air in a minute that the theme of these cars are panels and panels and bolts and bolts and bolts. There's lots of them. Nothing's wrong with the engine. We don't need to do anything. We did check the fluids for the customer and verify everything's in good shape and good order, and everything is. So everything's good under the hood, or the bonnet. This is actually an English car, so we will call it a bonnet. Let's go ahead and get into the interior and let Mrs. Wizard show you guys around.
As you can see, it has 30,013 miles. He was only off by 13 miles. As we slide up, this thing is immaculate on the inside and on the outside. It has a lovely camel color leather dash with dark gray stitching, which does match the center dark gray area as well. Large area over there hiding a glove box and an airbag. And you'll see, as we move, more camel. Lots of camels in here. And with lovely dark stitching on that seat as well. This is looking really nice. Some nice spaces back there. Not much to go with there. You can hang your handbag and tuck a few things in that little cubby hole back there, but that's it. As we slide up, you'll see on our very tiny convertible top up there, but notice it is not just the fabric of the convertible top. This is a camel color Alcantara, and it's not sagging or anything. Notice that the outside of this convertible top was the blue to match the outside of the paint, but inside it matches the inside of the interior. We did skip over our center section just a second ago, sorry about that. But if you look, we have a lovely analog clock and very simple controls, but obviously a numpad there so we can have our car phone. I guess at the era of this, that might have been very impressive. Now we have just a lot of buttons there. As we move back to our steering wheel, you'll see that here we are. It does have a lovely black and camel on it with the lovely Aston Martin logo in the center. Very simple controls for our phone and for our cruise control as well. Well, that's enough of this interior talk. Let's get this up in the air.
So here we are under the car, and we can see panels and panels and bolts and bolts. They're just the name of the game on the Aston Martin. We can see the radiator is nice and dry through this little slit. Everything's looking good. Check the brakes over here, and they are getting thin. They have about 10% remaining, maybe 15. They have a little life left, but we'll let the customer know about that. Go to this side. Same story, pads are thin, sway bar links are good. Both struts on the front are nice and dry. Time for brake pads up front. Here is our engine oil pan. Everything's nice and dry. Our AC compressor is nice and dry. So here, right here is the clutch. It's inside of this bell housing, but the transmission is not right here. It's just like a Corvette, guys, the newer Corvettes. The transmission's back there. So we'll work our way back to there. Here's our catalytic converters. A bunch of heat shielding, and look, panels, 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 bolts, everywhere. Here is our automated manual transmission. But the clutch is not right here. It's back there where we just were a minute ago. So this is not a 2-hour job. The backs are very thick. They have like 90% remaining. And the CV boots are nice and dry. I could just barely see them, these little holes. Struts are nice and dry. The brakes are good in the back. Sway bar links are good as well. So here's the biggest muffler I've ever seen in my life.
Wow, he is impressive.
It looks like a body panel, but it's not. And look how deep it goes in. It is a massive muffler. So nothing serious other than front brakes. Let's go ahead and get this thing back on the ground. These cars are not very common. There was 24,000 made between the V8 and the V12. Only 3,000 of those were the V12 models. That's not for the 2008 year. That's for a 13-year span from 2003 to 2016. Only 24,000 for 13 years. And that's globally. That's not in America, that's all over the world. So these are not very common. They're less so common than even Ferraris and Lamborghinis. Daniel's son, you guys know about him. He's a Ferrari tech here at our shop. And he even mentioned, he said, the only car that I know of that cost more than a Ferrari to fix is an Aston Martin. They are even that level higher on the cost. It's because of the rarity. There's even less of these than there are Ferraris. They are a very special car. Unfortunately, I will not be able to do the clutch. I've done hundreds of clutches, maybe over 1,000. And I could do this clutch as well. But I cannot program it. I cannot reset the calibration. If you do not reset the calibration and use a factory scan tool to do the calibration, your brand new clutch you just installed will be burned up in no time. I mean in no time flat. Another issue this car had was the anti-theft light is on. It's not flashing, it's just on all the time. And we did some research into it, and it's very likely the anti-theft module or something. And that's another issue that pretty much all automakers have that locked down. Anything to do with VIN numbers, security systems, chips and the keys, you really can't do that in an independent shop. I only work on 10 of these a year because there's really not that many around. So I'm not going to spend 50 grand on the OEM software and the yearly subscription and all this stuff, and I'll never, ever get my money back out of it. So we can repair lots of things on these cars, but on occasion we come across something that we can't do, just like the clutch on this car. Physically we can do the clutch, but computer-wise, It doesn't make any sense. I did mention to the customer that it's going to be 10 grand or more. And I thought he was going to say, wow, that's high. But he didn't. He said, well, I took it to the St. Louis dealership to have it done. And he said, he didn't tell me the number, but he said, when they told me the price, he said, I about collapsed. It was so high. So he said, I wish you could do it at 10 grand. I wish you could. Unfortunately, we're not going to be able to. The nearest dealers are Kansas City, Dallas, Denver, and from what I understand is a lot of people are even going to Florida to have the Aston Martins worked on. There's a dealership down there that is world renowned for how well it is, or how well they do their work, I should say. So it does need new brakes, but the customer said if we can't do the rest, I'll just take the car where I can get the clutch done and have them do everything. Yeah, he's not upset, he just totally understands, and I understand as well. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be working on this car. I wish I could, but it doesn't make financial sense, like I said, to get the software. There's a couple other cars in the shop. I want to give you guys a little update before we close out this video, but that's where we're at on this beautiful Aston Martin. So the engine is back on the 1983 Jeep Grand Wagoneer, finally. And he did do all the machine work and everything, and he's going to leave the assembly up to us, which is totally fine. So here we have on this cart, we have the cylinder heads, the crankshaft's been refinished. It looks like a mirror finish. It looks beautiful. And there's boxes and boxes of gaskets and things to help reassemble the engine that the builder sent with us. But I've mentioned to you guys about camshaft lifter failures, and a lot of you talked about this and that, or you didn't assemble it right, or you didn't use assembly lube. That's not the case. We use BG assembly lube. We did everything. We used high zinc red line oil for the break-in period, which helps with the break-in. We did everything by the book, even the cam break-in procedure. It didn't matter. In fact, my builder sent along a cam that matches the specs that the owner of this vehicle wants, but it's an old used cam. It's not new old stock. It's an older used cam. It is still in very good shape. It's like new condition, but it is used. He also sent along a box of new old stock lifters. And I mentioned to him, I said, so you don't think we could put a brand new cam or brand new? He said, I tell you what, Car Wizard, if you do, I'll void your warranty. He said, I have had over 10 engines come back that this lifter and cam failure situation is getting serious. So here is the old used camshaft. The customer wanted a certain spec on it, and this matches that spec. It was really a newer cam that he had installed. And this one matches that newer cam, although it failed. So we got this, and the new old stock lifters. They're an old box off the shelf from somewhere. Who knows how long they've been sitting. Good. I'm glad it's been sitting a long time. I don't want brand new ones. We got new bearings, everything else. We're going to be putting this engine back together, and I can't wait to get this done for the customer. And also, I'm sure he's tired of waiting, and I'm also tired of looking at the car. No offense to the customer. We both want it done and out of the shop. It's a mutual kind of a thing. So let's head on over to the Nova. We're starting to get parts arriving on the Nova. We have a new old stock camshaft. They had assembled the gear onto it, but I was understanding in the ad that it was never installed or even used. You can tell the lobes look like brand new. And this thing's from like 25 years ago. It's in very good shape, and it is not the trash that you buy today. This is a good one. I wanted to show you guys the lifters. I got a set of new old stock lifters, and there's a drastic difference that's very visible. So here we have two lifters. This one is brand new, like the trash lifters that they're selling now. You can see it's not even crowned properly, it's just flat. There is no heat treat process on the end to help it last and be more durable. It's just mild steel or something. This is what's causing a lot of the issues on top of the cams as well. Here's a new old stock one. Do you see that line? This is crowned. You can feel that it's very, very slightly crowned. And this portion of the metal is heat treated, is extremely hard. Why is that not on this new one? Why didn't they put that on here? That's the problem. They're not heat treating or doing any of the correct processing to get these done. They're just shipping them out the door and saying, screw it. So I'm kind of sad about the Aston Martin. I really hoped to get the job. I really hoped my Autel tool would be able to do the calibration on there. It can read it, it can do all kinds of things on that car, but it just can't do the calibration, unfortunately. So that one will be leaving soon, and I'm not sure where the customer is going to take it, but we do have parts coming in on this. We can start putting it back together with good old stock cam and lifters. And that's the same story over here at that Jeep. Old used cam that's in good shape and new old stock lifters. And we'll finally have two good engines, and we'll also be at the end of the road for tearing people's engines apart here at Omega Auto Clinic. Until they can get this situation solved with the cams and lifters, I'm not interested in doing this. This is just not worth my time. It's not worth your time. Take it to an engine builder or something like that. We're not going to tear them apart here in the shop anymore. I've already lost a lot of money on this, and I'm not mad. I'm not angry about that. It just kind of sucks. Same situation over there. So if you're curious what kind of tools we're going to use to work on this Nova or the Jeep, check my Amazon affiliates link in the description below. We get a small cut and we really appreciate it. And make sure to hit the subscribe button because we got more cars coming in. Thanks for watching.